This is the Journey Podcast. We highlight the journeys of our guests, where they've been, where they are now, and where they are going. Let's join them on their journey. Well, welcome to the Journey Podcast. I'm Nate, your host, and I want to remind you to like and subscribe on the channel you're listening or watching this on. Turn on the notification button to be reminded of our weekly podcast here on The Journey. Today, we're joined by Ryan Kassner, and I only met Ryan a few months back, but it seems like during that time, we've covered a lot of ground and gotten to know each other pretty well because we have a lot of similar just beliefs and philosophies behind how we do business. And I think this interview today is going to speak well to the power of digital networking, because I do a lot of networking online, offline, all over the country. And I met Ryan through LinkedIn, and he reached out to me and we just really hit it off. Ryan is a sales leader. He has an accounting degree, and he believes he was made to serve and take pride in adding value with every engagement. And I can really speak to that in just the short time I've known him. Whether that be through whole source accounting services through his firm or his sales coaching collaborations, he has a knack for understanding where his fellow professionals are and to uncover what they really need to get to the next level through his services or an intentional introduction to the most impactful subject matter for their immediate needs. And I've just really appreciated the time that Ryan has taken to get to know me and learn about where I am at as a professional. And it's just been a great relationship. And I'm glad to have you on the Journey Podcast today. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing fantastic, Nate. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to get this kicked off with you.
Absolutely. So tell our audience about your businesses. You've got a few things going on. Tell us what you do, and how does Ryan make a living?
So all three businesses are aligned at helping the small business owner grow and take everything they have to the next level. And I know a lot of different people say that. A lot of people are very ambiguous, as I just was, quite frankly. But that's why we kind of have three different businesses, and they are spread apart or spread across both my wife and I, with some very complementary yet differing matters of subject expertise. So my wife is a CPA. She's been in accounting her entire life, everything from staff accountant through CFO, public, private, you name it, she's done it. And she is the founder of our accounting firm that I serve as the COO for. Within that, I am everything customer facing, everything vendor facing, everything people basically. And then she's managing our tech stack and the actual service delivery. So I'm customer service, I am marketing, I am sales. I just love talking to people, understanding what they need, and then giving that to them. So accounting, numbers, finances, every business has it. Most businesses need help with it. That's where that piece falls into it. I'm also a sales coach, dabble in marketing a little bit, but I love the intricacies of the customer conversion journey, primarily in the human interaction component of it, and making that relational versus transactional, really understanding what their target audience is, who their target audience is, and then what their business objectives are and how their solution, whether that be a product or service, can feed into that. So it's really all about serving the business owner in that next level. And that even steps into my Keen collaborations through Kassner Keen, where we build out mastermind groups. I've got several going now. Some are agnostic, some are focused specifically on sales, and we're actually working on building one now that's focused specifically on accounting. So all three of those different pieces really feed together to the same goal of get that business owner to the next level, get them unstuck, get them through a brick wall, give them the information, the resources they need to continue to grow and develop.
So would you describe yourself as a salesperson that kind of fell into this sales coaching thing, or was that something that you wanted to do?
So sales coaching is, I would say, a little bit of both, to be honest. So just really quick background. I actually do have an accounting degree. Ironically enough, my wife always joked, why do you have an accounting degree? And now we know why, because I'm working with her in her firm. So I get the acumen and everything. So I started as an accountant, knew I didn't want to do it forever, moved into operations, never thinking I'd be a salesperson. But when I was in an operational leadership role, I started to sell so we could maximize our year-over-year growth. And I realized that it came naturally to me and it was a lot of fun. So I kind of fell into sales in general. unexpectedly. And then I grew through that. And then I kind of fell into sales training again, unexpectedly. I didn't expect to do it. And this was back in, well, that's a little redundant. We get it. But this is back in my corporate America days. And I started coaching those around me, my peers. And after some time, I realized I enjoyed coaching and training newer, greener sales reps way more than I even enjoyed selling myself. If somebody I coached and trained sold a big account, I was over the moon for them. I was so excited. I came home on cloud nine. My wife just thought that I sold a massive target, but I didn't. And then I would sell a massive target. I'd come home like I wouldn't even talk about it. And then we get a big commission check. My wife would be like, when did this happen? I was like, oh, last month we sold that. She's like, why did you tell me? I'm like, it's just not fueling me anymore. So that was kind of the accidental fall into sales coaching. And then I decided to very intentionally start my sales coaching firm. So yes, accidental salesperson, accidental sales trainer, intentional sales coach, owning a firm that focuses on that.
So you're kind of on both sides here. You're playing in the field on one side, and then you're coaching from the sidelines on the other side there. Do you find that as an advantage that you're still in the sales game while you're coaching others?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a definition of practice what you preach, right? If you can't do it, then how are you going to tell somebody else how to do it? So I definitely need to constantly be evolving, and being live in it helps me with that too. Because I'm seeing how buyers' habits are changing. What is the industry asking from us? Because again, if you can't fit if you can't provide a real solution to really help them move forward, then you're worthless, quite frankly, and they should never buy from you. And if you don't know what those solutions need to be, then you can't change your existing business either. And having those real conversations of me proactively selling our services is impactful. And then I could take those lessons learned and share them firsthand with people that I'm coaching. And that's the best way for people that are learning from me to learn, is through me sharing personal stories. And that's one of the things that I like to do most. If I'm coaching on how to build rapport, I tell a story of a time I build rapport in an incredibly impactful way. And then I tell a story of where I didn't build rapport and I skipped things and everything fell apart, and why you don't do it that way. And those stories really resonate with the people that I work with.
So tell us a little bit about the journey in sales. So did you start out with more in-person selling, or have you always been in digital sales, or is that something that changed during COVID?
Definitely changed during COVID. So everything was in person, literally to the point of driving around, knocking door to door, trying to build relationships, honestly. A lot of those door-to-door salesmen, and this was all business to business. So I was knocking on other businesses' doors, not people's doors. And there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
And it was literally walk in, let's start to build a relationship right away, versus the transactional, let's just buy this thing that I've got in my briefcase right now and I'm never going to see you again. It was definitely a lot bigger than that, but I still knocked on doors just to build the relationships until COVID hit. Everybody locked down, everybody stayed home. One, you couldn't even find phone numbers to cold call anymore. I'm not the biggest fan of cold calling, but I definitely think it still has its place depending on what your business is and who you're trying to reach out to. But even that has gotten so much harder because you can't even track down the proper phone number to get a hold of anybody anymore. So that is where the digital world, digital marketing, social media has become extremely impactful, because meeting new people isn't as simple as driving down the street and knocking on somebody's door, which is, quite frankly, has opened up my geographic coverage far beyond what I thought it would. I was always located down in Southwest Ohio and a little bit of Southeast Indiana and Northern Kentucky, and I just kind of lived in this bubble. And at this point, I have clients, I have centers of influence, I have great friends that have all come from this digital marketing networking across the country, California, Utah. My network in Chicago is blown up. Never would have thought that, but it has. And I absolutely love Chicago. So I really look forward to excuses to go out there.
But that's neat to hear, and just kind of helping understand how you can really expand your digital reach through those different platforms that are available to you.
Mm-hmm.
It appears through your bio and from your online presence that faith plays a big role in your business and life. Can you tell me why that is?
Honestly, just because nothing that I have would exist. None of my businesses would exist without God. So he is due all credit for everything I've ever accomplished. And to be honest, when I was a younger professional, I was a little less humble, a little more arrogant. I didn't give credit to God. I just kind of chalked it up to good luck and I'm smart and successful. But in all reality, the only reason I have any intelligence or success is because of the gifts that he gave to me. And he gave me those gifts so that I could glorify him and improve the world that he created for us. And if I'm not leveraging those gifts, then I'm squandering them. And that is not going to make him very happy. And I definitely want to make him as happy as I possibly can. And my gifts are in some would say I have the gift of gab. I don't shut up enough. But I also think I've gotten really good at listening as I've practiced my sales skills. And then I've also got that financial acumen to really help businesses in a very diverse way. And that plays into my sales coaching as well. So I've tried to be very self-reflective, especially since COVID. Had a lot of time to read a lot and pray a lot and worship a lot and really understand what God put me here for. And this past year, honestly, and a lot of the things I've already told you that I'm doing, it gives me so much confidence that I'm doing what I was made to do. And there were so many times before when I was in corporate America where it felt sort of right, but not fully right. And there was something off and I didn't know what. And in all reality, I wasn't walking into my calling. I wasn't walking the path he has for me. I might have had a foot on at times. I might have had a couple toes on at a time, but I never had both feet all in following the path that he has presented to me. And now I'm trying to be very intentional with that. So anytime I have an opportunity to pivot, move, I go straight to him and see which way he wants me to go and try to discern what I hear from him.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you got a couple of different businesses, but tell me what's one thing that has happened in business that you really didn't expect to happen?
Big picture,
Yeah.
considering all businesses, I fell
Yeah.
back into accounting work,
Huh.
honestly. I never thought that would happen. Once I moved out of accounting and operations, I didn't think that my accounting degree really meant anything to me anymore. But in all reality, it helped me a lot with my operational leadership from a cost accounting P&L management responsibility perspective. So that was really powerful. And I still continue to leverage and utilize that. Actually, just utilized that yesterday. We had a CFO report with a really big client of ours, and I got to break down their P&L and present the management report component of the CFO report and really jump into expenses, revenues, what has the past year been looking like, and what do we need to do to get to the next level. So it's really exciting to pull those skills given but not leveraging for a while, and I'm starting to pull those back out and implement them with the other gifts that I have been showing quite frequently lately. So it just feels like another tool in my tool belt that I didn't expect to pull back out.
I think that's great. It's just be able to use those. And sometimes you get burnt out doing one thing all the time, like to have a little spice and variety to life with the multiple skills that you have. Tell us what's a common myth, and I know you have 3 businesses here. So what maybe a common myth about each business that people think that you do?
Common myth about probably the sales coaching piece is that I'm arrogant and I don't care about you. But that's far from the truth, because quite frankly, without you, without everybody else in the world, I'm absolutely nothing and I have zero value to present. And getting people to the next level is such a genuine thing. And I do have empathy for where people are. And I've been in similar situations to a lot of people I work with. But I think most people look at salespeople in general as they're all transactional, and some of them certainly are. But from my experience, and maybe it's just because of the network I've been fortunate enough to build, and we're getting more and more away from that. People are really starting to understand the value of the relationship, kind of like you mentioned when we first started getting into this. So we're moving in the right direction, but I do still think that's a negative myth about the business, the line of sales in general. If you go into even a networking conversation and the person knows that you are a salesperson, there's instantly a guard up. No matter what you do, no matter whatever your intentions are, as genuine as there may be, there's always a guard up. And that's because of the negative myths that they're all just trying to steal money from your pocket. But quite frankly, me and again, a lot of people I've surrounded myself with would rather give you the best solution for your business, whether it's us or not. If I meet with somebody and Nate has a better service for their number one issue, I'd rather introduce them to Nate than try to talk them into taking what I have for them, right? And more people are getting that way, but they're still not all there, and most people don't even think that is genuine intention. So that's the sales side. The accounting side, I would say a big myth is that all CPAs are black and white. They can't see gray. They see IRS code, they see accounting regulation, they see law, and they abide by that in every way, shape, or form. And I'm by no means saying that they don't abide by the law, but the law can be ambiguous based on how it's interpreted. There are multiple different ways to interpret things, and there are ways to change the way that you do business a little bit to minimize fiscal impact from any type of law or tax implication, so on and so forth. And the really good CPAs, the really good accountants are able to see those, remain within the law. They do not break the law, but they still maximize profit, net income, mitigate tax implications. And not all CPAs do that. But again, I think more and more are doing that. Maybe that's just because of the intentional network that we're building around our accounting business. But we are learning from a mentor who's been doing that 40 years. He loves to push the IRS, and he has never lost an audit because he does stay within code, but it's far enough that they question it. So he is pushing into the gray, and we're learning a lot from him. He's been an incredible resource. And again, he's been audited dozens of times because he pushes it, but he has never lost because he always making sure that he stays within that realm. And then the other piece on our keen collaborations are masterminds. That's kind of a harder one. I don't know if there's any stereotypical myths about that I can think of.
Maybe not yet. We'll have to find some myths for you to overcome there. So
Sure.
what do you think is the biggest challenge you're facing in business right now, and how are you overcoming that?
Personally, it's definitely the management of everything. It's energy management, as a great mentor of mine says. It's not a matter of time management, it's a matter of energy management. To the extent of working in 3 different worlds, having customers to service in so many different ways, that can be exhausting. So it's a matter of being really intentional with time blocking. And again, that energy management. If I know that I need to give a really solid chunk of my day and my mental capacity and energy to a certain business, then I need to make sure the next day I'm making up for that in another business so that they're all kind of growing and scaling efficiently. And a big piece of that is streamlining efficiencies through various technical implications, automation tools, things like that. So identifying the best resources and how to integrate them within our various businesses is a big struggle for us right now, because across all of our businesses, customer service is bar none the number one concern for us. If we ever drop our customer service, then we might as well just shut our doors, because we need to under promise and over deliver. We need to blow the minds of anybody and everybody that we work with, and we're determined to do that. So whether that be of us personally, that is, because excuses aren't acceptable in any type of lack or drop in customer service. So I'd say that is probably the biggest struggle right now. And I've definitely learned for sure what my mental capacity thresholds are. The CFO report I just mentioned to you before took my wife and I both out. By the end of the day yesterday, we couldn't even speak. We couldn't articulate. We had interviews, actually. We had to pre-record some videos for a class that was being hosted that we're kind of helping to lead. That's in addition to everything else we've already kind of mentioned. And we definitely took more takes than we probably should have. So I really hope that after a good night's sleep last night, I'm being a little more articulate here with you, Nate.
Seems like it's going well here. So, but I think that's the beauty of the Journey podcast. We're talking about things that you already know and pretty natural to you. And I think that's the beauty of what we do here. Tell me, what do you think is the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
The most important lesson I have learned over my career: don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? So when I was earlier on in sales, I was that transactional person I've kind of spoken to a little bit, and I truly believed everybody was a prospect. Everybody could buy from me. That is absolutely not the case. I am very quick now to disqualify. I am very quick to realize that we are just not a good fit. And even if I missed that early on and we're at the very end and I've spent a ton of time working through this customer conversion journey, and I'm like, I got to get this. Even if I see something on the 1 yard line, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense mutually. Then I'm going to pull the plug versus trying to, running into the end zone against significant resistance. So I think the awareness of the buyer on the other side and what they truly need has increased. That my level of self-awareness has increased there quite a bit.
So tell me, what do you think, in your opinion, is the most important personality strength somebody needs to run multiple businesses? You're operating COO, CEO, sales. What's it take to be an entrepreneur and a safe self-starter?
Commitment, resilience, dedication, vision. I'd say those are all probably the biggest ones. You need to see where all of this is going, and you need to be 100% confident that you will get there sooner or later. It doesn't always happen on our timeline, and bring faith in right there. My plan isn't always God's plan. So God is never late, but he's seldom early. So there are a lot of times that I see a vision and I know exactly how I'm going to get there, and I want to go and get there, and then I hit brick wall after brick wall, or I end up turning right when I thought I was going to be turning left. And it's a matter of remaining resilient and confident in your faith that what you're doing is going to work. There's a great mentor that I listen to quite frequently who often says God has the night shift. And that's another piece. It's prioritizing the whole you and not just your businesses as well, to make sure that you don't burn yourself out. So it's staying in touch with your family. I have 2 and 4-year-old girls. I'm married, extensive family around me, and personal health is a big priority to me. Time with them is a big priority to me, and just joy and fun are all important as well. And I could work myself to death, but doing things, and this is bringing the faith back into it, doing other things outside of work that make God happy, he's going to take care of the night shift, right? Just because I'm not prospecting doesn't mean I'm not going to get a sale that day. So actually after this, it's 11 o'clock Eastern here. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to take my girls to the zoo. So I'm going to miss the last three golden hours, as my corporate days would call them, of selling, to go spend time with them. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to sell something. So I think it's having that open mind, it's having that vision, it's having that grit and determination to run after it, and be open-minded enough and reflective enough to pivot when necessary.
Yeah, I think that's so important. You got to have that downtime too. You talked about just being exhausted yesterday, so you might end up losing that sale because of how tired you are in the last 3 hours. So it might be worthwhile to put that off till Monday. I think that can be so important. You talked a little bit about mentors right there. Tell us about maybe your most important mentor that you've had.
Most important mentor I've had. Wow. I'm a huge fan of mentorship. I personally believe that we should always be mentoring and pouring into other people, and we should also always be poured into us. I gotta say, one of my masterminds, Christian Peer League, our first session, I wanted to highlight kind of the concept of mentors and just pouring into other people in general by asking who is your Joseph and who is your Potiphar? So who are you pouring into and blessing, and who is pouring into you and blessing them? So it really needs to be going both ways. And most impact, man, it's hard. I've had a lot of great mentors. It's almost easier to speak to the character traits, honestly, versus naming one specific one, if that's okay. If I could,
that's fine. Yeah.
Genuine attention and empathy in me, and desire to truly pour into me and not just check the box and say that I'm going to do this for you. So I've had those both within organizations I've worked at and random people I've met through networking that have offered to step up and mentor me. They all have significant experience in the realm that I'm in. And I think it's important to have multiple mentors in different realms. So perfect example right now, I am a coach. I personally believe every coach should have a coach. If there's a coach trying to sell you their services and they don't have a coach themselves and they don't think that they need a coach themselves, then I would quite frankly suggest that you go talk to somebody else. Because I personally don't believe they have the growth mindset necessary to be able to pour into you. Because if they're not constantly being poured into, their bucket's going to run out and then you're going to be left in a drought, right? And nobody wants that. So I personally right now, I've got a financial coach. I've got a spiritual coach, and I have a sales coach. Even though I'm a sales coach, I've got a sales coach. And I'm constantly learning from them. And again, they are just all personally invested in seeing my success in each of those different realms. My financial coach is personally invested, and you could just hear the genuineness and the consultative approach that they take to understand me, where I'm trying to go, and then helping to devise a road plan to get there. Same with the sales coach. What is your vision for sales coaching? How can I help support you in getting there? And then the exact same thing from the spiritual coach. My spiritual coach has a great saying, specifically from your faith journey, but I think it could be applicable to your development in almost any realm. But he puts you on a scale of -10 to +10. And where are you on that scale? And can I move you 1 to 2 notches? If I can move you 5 to 6 notches, fantastic. But if I can move you 1 to 2, then I've seen success. And it's kind of bringing that into like a tangible system to show your development through that mentorship collaboration is powerful as well.
That's good. Good word. Thanks for sharing that. Tell me what's this probably have to wear both hats again here. What's one thing about your job or your expertise there in coaching and accounting that almost no one else agrees with you about? So, and you're allowed to agree with your wife on these things, okay?
Okay.
Hopefully you guys agree with those things in your business, but I'm always interested to know what's unique to your business, to what you do, that maybe nobody else says, that's weird, I'm not going to do that? What do you think is unique about you guys?
About us as a whole, I'll say I've got something. I'll spit this out. Maybe it'll get going into kind of us as a whole and the accounting piece as well. But to the sales piece, the biggest place that I get resistance is what is your process? Because there are a lot of documented processes out there. There's sales books out the wazoo. And every time I tell somebody I'm a sales coach, like, what kind of sales coach are you? Are you a Sandler coach? Are you a this? Are you a that? Do you follow spin model? So on and so forth. I don't follow any of them specifically. Because if you break them all down, I was first asked that when I jumped into sales coaching, and I started doing a lot of research. And I was like, foundationally, they're all the exact same. They build up slightly differently because there are different tactics that work for different people. Again, it goes back to how are you made? What are your natural gifts and skills and traits, character traits? And then what audience are you going after, and what do they want to see and hear? So I'm big on custom everything for everybody. It's that same concrete foundation of proven sales tactic that every one of the documented books cover basically. And then you build a custom process on top of that may pull a little bit here, a little bit there to plug it together to work best for the way that you were wired as a seller. And that, so, I mean, that definitely, I was like, you got to have a model. You got to have a specific model that you go to. I'm like, I've got a specific foundation, but nothing else. And they just kind of look at me like I'm crazy. But it's been working so far with everybody I've coached. So I'm going to stick with it. From an accounting perspective, our whole sourced model. So the fact that we bring accountant level, basic bookkeeping, APAR, reconciliations, all that, into strategic CFO work and into CPA tax work is something that a lot of people are kind of questioning how we're going to do that from a scalable perspective and maintain that level of customer service that we're determined to do, because that is a lot. You need to know a lot. Again, we're blessed internally. We personally have that experience now, so we can do it. But how do we bring people on to continue to feed that same model over time? And that's going to be a challenge, but we're confident we can do it because it's a really big hole in the market right now. There are accounting firms that do that. They're all much larger, and they pretty much all serve larger organizations. There's nobody doing that for the small business. So that's going to be a unique struggle ahead of us, but we're really confident that we can deliver it because the market needs it, and we've got the gifts and skills to bring it to fruition.
That's awesome. So tell me, what is like an underrated tool that you use every day that would be impossible to do your job without?
Underrated tool. So I went to energy management before. So it used to be my task reminders just on my iPhone. So basic. And that's what I guess you're saying about underrated.
Yeah.
My wife makes fun of me all the time. Productivity planner. I plan out every day. I prioritize the tasks I need to get completed. And I love checking them off when I get them done. I recognize when I'm falling behind a few days and what I need to do. Like, to be honest, I've got a couple things from Wednesday I still need to do. I've got 2 things from Thursday I still need to do. And then my Friday, I'm on track to get complete. So I've got to get all that done by 2 o'clock so I can take my girls to the zoo, and I'm gonna get it done. And when you say underrated, I just think like, really, like that drives you? It does. It helps keep me organized and on track with my real value add and what's going to help me move the needle forward. Because without that organization or prioritization, you can exhaust yourself on things that really aren't doing anything for anybody. You might think they are, but they're not.
Yeah, I think it's so important to find those things that really keep you moving forward. So I love that question. So tell me, you've tried a couple of different occupations. Is there another occupation other than what you've already tried that you would still like to try?
That's a good question. Professional soccer player. That'd be fantastic. I've been a soccer fan my whole life. I played growing up. Yeah, but I don't know that one's too feasible. Maybe, and this is, I've actually thought about this over the past month now that I reflect, given your question. And professional soccer player, a little outside the realm of my physical capabilities at this point, so that's not too likely to happen. But I have thought about like getting into athletic coaching. What would it look like to work for an athletic program? That would be really exciting. And actually, I might be stepping into something like that as well. So my sales coaching has gotten the awareness of a local school who's put together a sales and marketing class that they are now hiring me to be a part-time teacher and come in for 1 class a day and teach that class in sales and marketing. So I'm going to be teaching high school students the same things that I've been teaching, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old business owners. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe I end up being a teacher. Who knows? Because I am fueled by seeing that light bulb click in people that I'm teaching sales and marketing to. So maybe teaching a room full of high school students is gonna spark even more of that desire. So TBD, maybe that could be coming down the pipeline.
That's right. Because I'd say, what other than maybe other than teaching, I always ask people, what's the next business you're going to start, or the next business? Because us as entrepreneurs, there's always like, well, if I had an opportunity, I'd start this. And I just think that's fascinating to see. Thanks for being on the Journey podcast today, Ryan. I got a couple of rapid fire questions here that everybody gets asked at the end of the episode. Tell us, what are 3 books you would recommend to the audience and why?
The Pumpkin Plan, One Step Closer, and what's the third one? I've got to have a third one. Rapid fire question. Man, what else? Here we go. Got to pull out the sales book. It might help that I'm reading it right now. But $100 million offers, great one. The Pumpkin Plan is a great one for building a scalable business. And One Step Closer is just a great life book to reset your minds on eternal perspective versus the worldly daily perspective that we get sucked into.
Yeah, great recommendations. I structured my business around the Pumpkin Plan a couple of years ago. It was the best thing I ever did. So, All right, if I was starting a business today, what's one word of wisdom you would give me?
Understand your customer.
Okay.
That's more than one word,
that's a loaded statement right there. So get some sales coaching if you don't know what that means, right?
There you go.
All right. So I've asked you a lot of questions today, Ryan. I really appreciate you being here on the journey. But what's one question you wish I would have asked you about you?
The number one question to ask me, what keeps me going through all this?
Yeah, tell me about that.
It's the feedback that I get from people that I'm able to help, and the way that I'm able to help them and pour into them and change their lives. Because again, going back to my transactional days, caring about my P&L, caring about the sales that I made, I was always just focused on those numbers, and the people that fed those numbers mattered a little bit to me, but they didn't matter nearly like they do now. And the more feedback that I've gotten, the more I've spoken to people, the more, I mean, this sounds extreme, but I genuinely feel like I've changed some lives for people. I changed the lives for people who'd never thought they could be a good salesperson until I work with them. They're like, this is so natural to me, and I'm seeing success. And they're just, you can see this weight lifted of, I can do this. I honestly feel like I changed their lives, at least professionally. And that just fuels me and keeps me going. It makes me so happy. It goes back to that. I got more joy out of somebody I coach selling a big target than even myself. And that still holds true. And that's what keeps me going. Even if I'm beat up, I'm down, I'm exhausted, I know that I'm going to have an interaction in that day, that coming day. I will have at least one conversation that will change somebody for the better. And I'm committed to making sure that I don't leave any of those off the table.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Ryan Kassner, thanks for being on the Journey podcast. Tell us where we can find you online, how we can engage with the accounting business, the mastermind groups, the sales coaching. Tell us a little bit about that and how we can find you.
Yeah, I mean, everything that I'm doing is on my LinkedIn profile. So finding me, Ryan Kassner, Kassner on LinkedIn is definitely the best way to reach out. I'm very active in the messaging there. Shoot me a message. I think it's got my contact information on LinkedIn as well. You can learn a little bit more about our accounting services at panopticafinancial.com. That's PANOPTICA. As I'm still a little brain dead at the end of the week here, financial.com. And then KassnerKeen.com speaks a lot about the sales coaching, sales consulting work I do. But LinkedIn's definitely the best resource to catch me.
Awesome. Yep. Met Ryan through LinkedIn. Great resources there. He has a great network. Definitely reach out to him, get to know Ryan and all that he's doing. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today on the journey today, Ryan. It was a pleasure, and look forward to seeing where everything goes for you with the new venture with the accounting, and just always a joy to talk with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, Nate. I appreciate our friendship, and I look forward to growing with you in the future.
Sure. Thank you.